Hello, Geneva, and welcome to Officially Speaking. I'm your host, Kevin Starr. Geneva prides itself on being an environmental leader, and much of our success is due to a dedicated group of volunteers in our Natural Resources Committee. Joining us today is NRC Chairman Jay Womack. Jay, thanks for being here today.
Good morning. Thank you.
Before we start talking about our committee, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I've been very fortunate. I've grown up in Geneva almost my entire life. I was actually born right down the street here in Geneva Hospital. I lived in the Batavia Highlands until I was about 8 years old. We moved to Yorkville, where I grew up, and that's really where the nature came into me. We lived on a piece of property with 3 acres of woods and water, and one day I was walking with my dad through the woods and he started talking about the trees, and I was in complete awe that he even knew the names of the trees. And at that point I knew I wanted to also know the names of the trees. So I went to school to become a wildlife management major in Humboldt State University, and when I realized it really wasn't my dream, I found the word landscape architecture, and it brought me back to this area, and that is why I now live in Geneva again. I love the city. I love being here. I love what it stands for, and I love being a citizen that's involved.
Great. For those viewers who may not be familiar with the Natural Resources Committee, can you explain your role in the community?
Sure. The Natural Resources Committee is a volunteer group. We're made up of roughly 7 people. And we were started about 11 years ago, and it was a group of individuals that wanted to do things that were environmentally friendly and would promote the environment within the city. Most of those people have moved on. They've either moved from the state or they've moved into different locations or jobs. And we have one gentleman who's the original, one of the founding members. His name is Dan Ludwig, and I joined about 7 years ago. And into about my second year, when quite a few people were leaving, they asked me to become the chairperson, and I have. And we meet once a month. It's a great group of people. We've taken on some new members that have incredible energy and also have the environment in their heart. And what's interesting is most of us have professional lives that don't necessarily revolve around the environment, but their heart revolves around the environment, and that's what we look for. Somebody who wants to be there, who wants to work with us, who is interested in helping, volunteering their time. And that is, to me, is the key person. If you want to give of your time, we will take you gladly.
Like many communities, the emerald ash borer has impacted our beautiful tree canopy. How has the NRC played a role in revitalizing our public parkways?
We are doing our part to replace the trees, not take them down. We have a new member. I shouldn't say he's new anymore. His name's Bill Deckel. He works for Ball Horticultural, and he lives in Geneva. And one day he called the city and asked what they were going to do about replacing the trees coming down from emerald ash borer. He recognized that it was going to become a serious issue. And so he was recommended to call me, which just coincidentally, in our professional lives, we know each other because I am the landscape architect for the Ball Horticultural new landscapes. And so we've known each other for a year through our professional lives. And so it worked out really well to have Bill come and join our group, and he literally brought this idea called Greening Geneva. And we loved it. We picked up on it, and we came to the conclusion that we couldn't do anything to help take down the trees, but we could do something to help put back the trees. And that's our promise to the city. So we're doing a number of fundraisers and helping to recognize where trees can go and which trees are best for the environment, and working with the city to put those new trees back. And it's something that we're really proud of. That's going to be hopefully one of our legacy projects for the city of Geneva.
Speaking of fundraisers, the NRC might be best well known for its community events. Tell us a little bit about your Wine, Cheese, and Trees fundraiser and your Earth Day celebration.
Yeah. Well, our latest endeavor is Wine, Cheese, and Trees, and it is a fundraiser specifically meant to raise money to purchase trees to put back into the parkways. We are very fortunate that we have a sister group called the Western Avenue Get Up and Grow Committee that we team with to do this fundraiser. We've held it now 3 years in a row. Each year it's gotten better, and this last year, just this last March, we had almost 225 people show up. We think we raised close to $17,000 through incredible donations from merchants, vendors, public, people in general who have graciously donated items for our silent auction, and a few raffle items. We were very fortunate to work with Geneva Wine Cellar, who provided the wine for us. We served wine. We had a live auction this year. It was the first time we did a live auction, which was just an incredible success. We had 7 items. And what was even more amazing is we had 5 items. What was the most amazing thing was we had a gentleman come out of the audience and say, I have a condo on Green Lake that I will give you right now to auction off for 1 week, because he thought what we were doing was so incredible, and he was in the moment, and it was the most generous thing I've seen someone do in a long time. And we did. We auctioned it off. It went for $1,000. And he came up afterwards and said, what you guys are doing is so remarkable. I would be glad to donate my condo every year, for as long as I have it. It was an incredible gesture on his part to come forward and just give that to us. And so we were very fortunate to make a very large sum of money on both of our behalves. The other fundraiser that we do is called Rain Barrels on Parade. So we do sell rain barrels. We sell them for $75. They are recycled pickle or olive barrels that we get from a group. And they set them up. They are completely fully functioning rain barrels. We sell them for $75. But we also now are doing something called Rain Barrels on Parade, sort of a takeoff of Cows on Parade. And we've done this now 4 years. This will be our 5th year doing it. And we're going to have roughly 25 to 30 barrels that have been painted by local people. And thank you to you, Kevin, for putting the advertisement in the newspaper for us. We've had people come out of the woodwork from Iowa, from the city, from Geneva, different neighborhoods, who have asked to paint a rain barrel for us. And we're starting to get some of them in now, and they are magnificent. So we will have a live auction on the Sunday of Festival of the Vine at 2 p.m. It'll be either at the Paper Merchants Terrace or somewhere in the near vicinity. And probably soon after Swedish Days, we will start putting the barrels out on the street with a sign that says this barrel was painted by such and such, this is the name of the barrel, please join us for a live auction. That is a fundraiser that we make a very nice amount of money on as well, and it's all because people donate their time to paint these barrels and give them back to us. And some of them are spectacular. Earth Day is not necessarily a fundraiser for us as much as it is an opportunity to showcase vendors, merchants, people, and other opportunities that are supportive of the environment. So they either have a product that's green, they have a message that's green, they have something that way will sell you that's green, and so it's kind of a little bit of a festival. And it's out at Peg Farm Park. We've tried a number of places. This was our 7th year doing Earth Day. We moved around a couple different places, but the last 3 years, we've been at Peg Farm Park, and it's just fantastic. It has everything that we need out there, and it's a great place to mingle, walk around, see the farm, and it's amazing how many people come out and have told us that they've never been out to Peg Farm Park before, so they were really glad that they came out. Probably our number one draw in that whole festival is the electronic recycling and the paper drop-off. And we have just car after car after car come through and just drop off papers that they have been holding on to for decades. We had one gentleman pull up, and he literally unloaded a van for over 20 minutes of paperwork. And I have a feeling it came from his wife's business. I know the gentleman. And every time I looked over, Dan was still unloading paper, and boxes, not just papers, but boxes of papers. When the gentleman drove away, Iron Mountain, who donates their time to shred the paper for us, the truck was bulging from bottom to top, completely full. He was even dumbfounded at how much paper he had collected at an event like this. The electronic recycling now, we're very fortunate that we are able to bring it to the city of Geneva. They do make a little bit of money on it, and so we're helping to support something that they're doing by collecting old electronics and providing a waste stream that doesn't go right into a landfill, but is now reproduced into something that's useful, and they also make a small amount of money on it. Something new that we tried this year was the Geneva Park District worked with a group called Bike Works, and you could bring an old bike out and drop it off, and it was taken to Bike Works, who takes it apart, they'll refurbish it, and they'll sell it at a very reduced cost to a family that may not be able to afford a new bike in the city of Chicago. They also take old crutches, they take old wheelchairs or any type of material that they can take apart and either reuse in something else to fix it up, or they can reuse it to sell as parts to support the bicycle sales that they have. It's a wonderful, wonderful group of people, and we're very fortunate to be able to have them, at least support them during our Earth Day event. And we believe we had close to 700 people come through this year, which was just a phenomenal turnout, just phenomenal turnout.
While the community events are obviously great for our residents, the NRC is not adverse to doing some hard work and labor too. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your Fabyan Forest Preserve work days and what you guys are doing out there?
Yes, that is something that's near and dear to my heart. So like I mentioned, I grew up in the Geneva Highlands. My dad and I spent a number of years walking the woods in Fabyan when I was very young. And as I came back, I went to graduate school to get a degree in ecological restoration, which is coupled with my degree in landscape architecture. So I am very fortunate to be able to combine design with ecology. And my thesis was on oak woodland restoration. And as I drove by Fabyan, I kept noticing that the oak trees were being overrun by invasive non-native species like buckthorn and honeysuckle. And so I finally called the Forest Preserve and offered my services just to put together a couple work days. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And after the third work day, and we had almost 50 people come out each work day, I was literally handed the stewardship of that preserve through Kane County Forest Preserve. And Drew Ulberg and Ben Habither and Rob Cleve, my three main contacts that I work with, are just amazed at the people that we get out there week after week after week. There's about 200 acres of oak woodlands, some of the most spectacular oaks I've ever seen right here in our backyard. And unfortunately, they are dying a slow death because so many of the areas are being undergrown by highly invasive species like buckthorn. And so when that buckthorn becomes thick, it obliterates the sunlight. And when it obliterates the sunlight, it obliterates anything that grows at the ground floor. And one of those things that it obliterates are the acorns. So as these oak trees drop their acorns onto the floor, there's not enough energy to support their growth. And so it's what we call a single generation tree at this point. There's literally no regeneration of our oak trees in that woodland. There's very minimal regeneration of the ground floor, which are the herbaceous sedges and grasses and flowers. They do occur in some places where there's a little bit of light that comes through. But for the last 2 years, we have been working almost every other weekend to clear buckthorn, and we'll get 15 to 20 people almost every single time. It was minus 20, and we would still go out there and cut, and I would have 10 people show up. And they all walk away feeling really good about what they've done. They can see the progress we're making. And I talk to them about why we're doing what we're doing. I educate them as to what is important about these trees and this ecosystem. And oak woodland is actually one of the most endangered ecosystems on the face of the earth, because it takes a long time to make a 200-year oak tree that supports the ground floor, and vice versa, the ground floor supports it. So when that tree falls over, it's gone forever. And because so many of the species that are in the understory are non-native, they come in faster than the native species can. So they close the canopy back over, and we're right back where we started. And so one of the things we're working towards doing is making that ecosystem healthier. And we work Saturdays from 9 to noon. We've stopped at this point because a lot of our wildflowers are coming up, and it's very difficult to have 20 people walking around and not step on the things that you want to keep. So once May 1st comes around, we usually stop for the season. We'll pick back up again in September, and we'll be back out there doing woodland restoration. And when people see the large piles that are out there, they're actually good. Those are we like to call those our calling cards. It means that we are taking down a tremendous amount of buckthorn. They'll be eventually burned by the Forest Preserve. They will do a prescribed burn, because once we open it up and we get a little bit more of the ground floor coming in, it will carry a fire. And so the fire is a natural process in an oak woodland, and that is something that will make it healthier and better. And then we want people to come out and really enjoy it, and they are starting to. It's amazing to watch now somebody actually walk through the woods where the year before you literally couldn't, because it was so impenetrable because of the buckthorn. So we're working very hard, and we just love it. And the camaraderie that we create, the laughter, the conversations, and the education is what, to me, is what a land steward is supposed to do. And that's why I value my time with these people that come out and give of their time. So I want to give something back to them and talk to them that, most people don't even know that the white oak is our state tree. So just that little bit of information gives them more ammunition and more information to want to come back the next week.
Jay, what other projects or issues does the NRC address at its monthly meetings?
We have a couple other small projects that we work on. We did a small prairie garden out near the fire station. And so Dan Ludwig is primarily responsible for helping to maintain that. He'll set the work days, and whoever can make it will meet out there and again remove invasives and make that a healthy environment. We have a small prairie garden right here at 2nd and Franklin at the Lutheran Church, and it's something that we are working hard to maintain. What's interesting is, unfortunately, we've received a number of phone calls that were not positive about the prairie garden when we first put it in. And what happens with the prairie, and especially when you put it in with plugs, is that it's like an infant going to its teenage years. It's unruly. So it grows fast, it grows tall, its hair is long, it likes to flop over, it doesn't listen to you. And so right now the prairie is starting to come into its teenage years, but it's starting to come out of its teenage years and come into its adult years, where you sit up a little bit stronger, you're a little bit more proper, you listen better. And so the prairie plants are starting to become a little bit more well-behaved. Part of that is that those prairie plants have to compete for their place on the earth. And when they don't have to compete, they get too tall because they don't know what to do with their energy, just like a teenager. So they run around rampant, they don't listen to you. But as they start to fight each other to get their roots entwined, to get deeper, to be successful as an ecosystem, they start to come down in stature. So instead of being 10 feet tall, they're 4 feet tall, which is where they're supposed to be in some cases. So that's something that we're definitely working on. We are definitely working on making sure that it's maintained so that it doesn't hang over the sidewalk, which is very difficult because, again, those plants, they like to be in a larger contiguous space, but we're definitely working on getting that corralled. We do a river cleanup, and we've typically done that in May, associated with the National River Cleanup Day that goes on in Illinois. But the last few years, May has either been really cold, or the water's been really high, or there's been some issue that we were more concerned about having people in the water than having our work day. So we're looking at doing something that might be in September that could be associated with just a nice weekend. And typically we'll be down on Island Park because we can walk that waterway. It's not a lot of places on the Fox River right in downtown that are safe to walk along. We've got bulkheads, we've got private property, so we have to pick and choose our places where we do those things. But we definitely want to be able to do that as well. Well, those are a few of the other projects that we work on.
If our viewers are interested in joining the NRC, where can they go to find more information about your group?
One of the best things is to call the city, and they can get either my phone number or my email address, and I am more than happy to put that out there. It's my work email, and I will answer any questions that people have. They could come to one of our meetings, which are the first Wednesday of every month right here at City Hall, and it is open to the public, and they're more than welcome to come in and sit and listen and ask questions or just hear about who we are or what we do. We are always looking for new members, and we're always looking for new members who really want to be involved. And so we, and young and old, we don't look for any particular person. We want people to join our group. So the only caveat is that you have to live within the City of Geneva limits to join one of our groups, because we are part of SPAC, which is a subset or subcommittee of the City of Geneva. And so all of us are subsets of the City of Geneva. So that's the only requirement.
And you can find more information about the Natural Resources Committee on our website at www.geneva.il.us. Well, that's all the time that we have for today's show. We'd like to thank Jay Womack for his time and insight into the Natural Resources Committee. We'd also like to thank you for watching. We hope you tune in again next month to catch the official word from our city leaders. Thank you.